Hi, welcome to Hardwire Video. This little video segment is on cutting. Today I'm going to review with you some of the tools, some of the procedures, demonstrate some of the equipment, and then you can learn more on our website, www.hardwirellc.com. Let's go over to the tools quickly. One of the first and most important tools is going to be, at bare minimum, safety glasses. If you're in the field, you might need a hard hat or other personal protective equipment, but at the bare minimum, a good pair of safety glasses anytime you're cutting hardwire. I'm going to have these on for the rest of the video. We put out our good old standard glass shears out here for everyone to see, and we just wanted to show you that if you are working in a glass shop and you try this on hardwire, they will become absolutely useless. So literally keep these for the glass, take them away for the hardwire. When you first get your samples and you want to try cutting with hardwire for the first time, we recommend a pair of Weiss tin snip shears. They're pretty standard. You can find them at most Home Depots. They are the type with the blades that are stiffened on the side of the blade. Weiss makes other pairs that have thinner blades, and those blades tend to deflect and do a pretty bad job cutting hardwire. These have the blades are stiffened on the side. Makes a tremendous difference in the ability to cut the material. The other thing that's important is these are spring-loaded, but you notice that they won't return to their open state by themselves. It's really because we've over-tightened this nut. If you don't over-tighten this nut, you will have trouble cutting hardwire. The wire tends to get caught in the nip section. You need to make it tight enough that it closes easily, but won't open under its own spring tension. So again, bare minimum, we'll demonstrate these in a second. Another great tool, they sell these at Home Depot, either a utility knife or one of these box cutter knives. These are great for slitting hardwire. They're just perfect. We'll show you how that works in a second. They're a couple bucks a piece. And if you're working with hardwire, I'd recommend just have one of these things in your pocket all the time. They're great. They don't really take up a lot of space in a pair of blue jeans, so keep one of those around. And the real workhorse for cutting hardwire is this Makita Tool. It's something that was more or less developed at Goodyear. You'll find these at several sheet metal shops. But basically, it's a JS 3200. There's a link on our website under Cutting Hardwire, the Cutting Hardwire section, that you can click on this. It'll take you to a very reputable tool dealer, Discount Tools, where they sell these, and I believe they're $499. It's a lot for a pair of shears, but I can tell you this is a very good industrial piece of equipment. These we've had around for a couple years now. We've dropped them several times, and it's a good tough tool that can take a beating. The blades, when you get the Makita, it comes with a manual and a set of feeler gaugers to actually set these blades apart. You want to disregard the instructions in this case and follow ours, which is the blades should just be set so that they're snug. They just tighten them up so that they're tight against each other, not overly tight, but certainly snug. These little blades are great. They're only about $2 a piece. There's a link on our website of where to buy replacement blades. Again, I think that takes you directly to the Makita store. And the blades last about 2,000 cuts. You can see that they can be rotated. So each blade can be rotated 4 times. So you get about 8,000 cuts per blade set. You can resharpen them. They can actually be reground. They're a carbide blade, but you can regrind them on a grinder. And these things last really a long time. And at the end of the video, we're going to show you the last way to cut hardwire, which is really done with plasma. So we'll show you that at the end of the video. So just to demonstrate each of the tools, we have a couple fabrics here. We have mostly our high-density hardwire material. It's the most difficult to cut because it's the most wires. And we also have some lower-density material over here that we'll be cutting in a second that has a little bit lower density. Okay, now just a quick demonstration with the hand shears. I can tell you it was a long time until we really found the right hand shears. And one other part to note is on these hand shears, the blades are serrated. The serrated blade shears tend to grip the wire and keep it from slipping out of the tool. And again, you would only buy these to get yourself started. It can be somewhat difficult to cut with hand shears, but you will be able to cut through the material. You can see that I'm only cutting maybe a quarter inch at a time. This is not something you do in production, and we typically only suggest the use of these materials, this particular hand shear, only when you're getting started. This is for folks that are unsure about hardwire. You can always run down to Home Depot, get a pair of these things and get yourself started. As soon as you get serious, and you'll notice a big difference now, as soon as you get serious, you're going to be jumping up to this Makita tool, and the difference is phenomenal. This is the best $500 you can spend if you're serious about using Hardwire, and we really recommend that everybody gets at least a pair of these. One of the things I'm going to show you is a lot of the Hardwire we're showing you is done right side up. That's not really the right way to cut it, only because the grid on the back side, you can see this scrim, performs a second duty, which is just as an excellent guide to your cutting. It's easy to find a straight line on there. Line your shears up, and you can see we're just putting it in the nip. Crank them up. And you can get beautiful straight line cuts, even on small pieces. Actually, cutting these small pieces is probably one of the more difficult things to do. I'm going to demonstrate kind of a curved cut and some angle cuts now using the same tool. And you'll see with this product you can really get some great cuts no matter what direction you have to go. Okay, you can see that not only is that a good cut, none of the wires have come loose. We've spent a lot of time developing the product to ensure that this material stays together when you're cutting it. Now in slitting, I'm going to take you back down to the table just one more time and just show you a couple of different slitting techniques. The material can be just slit as is, but one of the things we like to do is the wires can be pulled out individually. So if you're going to have a long slit, it's easy to just pull a wire out. Let's say you can measure it, pull those wires out of there, grab the slitting tool, just kind of leave it a little long, and the material just slits beautifully. The wires actually act as a guide. You can slit it into narrow tapes. So for guys building stringers, we would recommend that you order our wide tapes and then just begin slitting them yourselves. It's the easiest way to use it. You can also kind of get the blade between the wires. It's just a little harder to start, but it slits equally as well. And if you're really in a tough pinch, the material is also tearable. It's not quite as nice when you're done, but you can tear the material in half. If you're really in a pinch, you don't know where your tool is, and you're in a big hurry. We would recommend, though, this slitting tool is probably the best way to go. I'm going to demonstrate one other cut. This is a little bit lower density material. It's a little bit easier to cut, actually. It's a 3x2 wire. I'm going to just flip that over so I get a nice clean grid to work with. Grab the good old Makitas and just give you an idea in a production environment where you're trying to whack out a lot of pieces very quickly, just what this would look like. This particular piece, this particular fabric represents what would be equivalent in about 150 ounce glass fabric. So for those of you that are familiar with cutting glass, you'll really appreciate the speed. Should give you a good idea. Just when you're cutting a lot of plies, you have your guys out there on the kitting floor, this material cuts incredibly well compared to glass. It holds together, it can be abused, you can work it all over, you can throw it on the floor, and it stays together. And that's probably one of the most important facets on the shop floor. This material is designed to be used out there in a tough environment without fraying and spreading things all over the place. The last thing to tell you before we move on to plas cutting is, one of the great things about this is it doesn't itch at all. There is no fly. It's not going to cause itching in the workforce, and it's just wonderful to work with. Let's move on to the plasma cutting now. Welcome back. We're going to be now demonstrating the plasma cutting technique. Here at our shop, we just have a little Hobart Air Force 400 plasma cutter. It's just a small, less than $1,000 handheld plasma cutter. We have demonstrated this on larger CNC style plasma cutters, really for kit cutting. What we're going to show you, just for the simplicity of the video, is just a single layer plasma cut, but then we'll be moving on to, you can apply the same technique to multi-layer plasma cutting. George, one of our guys here, is going to demonstrate the plasma cutting now. Basically, one of the nice things about plasma is it essentially welds the very ends of the wire together, keeping it super intact, keeping your patterns nice and concise. We have demonstrated this with up to 20 layers of material on a CNC machine. And one other thing to consider is, just we haven't shown you in this videotape, is if the material is pre-pregged, we believe water jet cutting would also work to cut out patterns in the pre-preg. However, one thing that we know that doesn't work is don't try this material in a Gerber cutter. That's all for cutting. We've shown you a couple different techniques. The hand cutting, just to get you started. The Makita power shears, that's what we really recommend. Easy way to slit hardwire, that's a piece of cake any way you slice it. And then last, the plasma cutting. Thank you for watching.